Now, the papers are hot off the press this morning, and Florence Villemot joins me now to talk us through what's making headlines. So, French papers this morning, they have actually turned their attention to Canada today, where several women have come forward with more allegations of sexual harassment.
This is against a prominent impresario in the Canadian comedy world. Now, you might not have heard about him, and his name is Gilbert Rozon. He's huge in Canada. In fact, Le Parisien calls him the king of humor, and they're talking about la chute du roi de l'humour, so the fall down of the king of humor. He's actually the founder of the Just for Laughs comedy festival. It's seen as the biggest comedy festival in the world. He's a giant in the entertainment industry, particularly in Quebec, and therefore he's quite famous in the Francophone world. So that's why the French papers are focusing on him, because he's actually quite famous here in France. He was on the jury of a show called Incroyable Talent, essentially the France's Got Talent. Interesting to note that the channel that shows that runs that show, M6, has suspended the show in the wake of this scandal.
And given everything that we've been hearing in the States about Harvey Weinstein, are comparisons being drawn between what's apparently happening in Canada? Indeed.
We're seeing a lot of kind of domino effects from the Weinstein scandal. Apparently in this situation, of course, these are allegations right now, many people in the industry knew about Rozon's alleged behavior but turned a blind eye. For instance, you can see this article inside Aujourd'hui en France, Le Parisien, that quotes a journalist in Canada, Denise Bombardier. She says, show business protected him like the Catholic Church protects its pedophile priest. So quite serious allegations here. You can see it, they're saying fin de rire, so it's the joke is over, essentially. And Aujourd'hui en France, Le Parisien comes back on these ripple effects that we're seeing from the Weinstein scandal. Essentially, there will be other powerful men, perhaps, that will be dragged down along with him. This is a case in point. It's proof also that this feeling of impunity, all-powerfulness that some men might feel, this feeling is no longer appropriate, according to Le Parisien. There's clearly a change of paradigm underway.
Change of paradigm, maybe, but also it seems like attention is now looking a little bit more towards victims and the way that they're coming forward to raise their issues, particularly online. I think we've all seen on social media this hashtag MeToo all over our Facebook feeds.
Indeed, MeToo, or also the French version of that, balance ton porc, make your pig squeal, essentially. This is a very interesting article in Le Figaro. It actually carried out a poll, an exclusive poll. 50% of French women in this poll say that they have experienced sexual harassment or assault. But despite those impressive figures, 50%, very few cases actually go to court. For instance, Le Figaro focuses on the statistics concerning rape. In 2015, 62,000 women declared that they were the victims of rape or attempted rape. But that very same year, 2015, only around 1,000 cases actually went to court. Why do so few cases actually go to court? Well, Le Figaro says there are many obstacles, two main obstacles, in fact, for investigations. The lack of evidence, first of all, and also this very thorny issue of consent that, of course, we've been talking a lot about as well.
OK, Flo, let's move on now to French politics. The leader of the National Front, Marine Le Pen, she's been back on the television last night. It's her first major appearance since the presidential campaign, isn't it?
Back to square one for Marine Le Pen. That's what you can see here on the front page of L'Opinion. Slight play on words there. It's retourne à la case départ, means back to square one, but they're talking about la case débat. Of course, this is a reference to the presidential debate between Marine Le Pen and Emmanuel Macron. Now, political commentators largely agree that it was a big failure for Marine Le Pen, and it cost her perhaps a lot of votes in the second round. So you can see L'Opinion here in their cartoon by Cac. Cac is likening Marine Le Pen to Capitaine Haddock. If you're a Tintin fan, you'll be familiar with this reference, and you'll know that Capitaine Haddock often has a very annoying Band-Aid stuck to his finger, and you can see in this case, the Band-Aid for Marine Le Pen is that debate with Macron. So lots of papers are saying, look, she slipped off the radar after the election. Her party is pretty much, well, I guess you could say, trying to find itself, fall back on its feet. There's been a lot of divisions. Florian Philippot, her right-hand man, left the party. So she's facing a lot of problems. She's trying to make it back onto the scene, trying to stay relevant, and thus appeared in this TV show.
Good stuff. OK, I look at that, I think immediately of my dad, a man who is a big Tintin fan. Let's move on now to something slightly lighter. Self-driving cars in the French papers this morning, raising apparently some ethical issues.
Very interesting. Libération here has some very ethical questions for you. Unfortunately, car accidents are inevitable, but there are some questions to be asked. Is it better to sacrifice the lives of the passengers inside the car or pedestrians outside the car? Now, that might sound like a really twisted question on a philosophy exam, but researchers at MIT, Harvard, and the University of California are actually taking these questions quite seriously. They've built a game called the Moral Machine, and it's a simulator to, quote, I went on their website, gather a human perspective on moral decisions made by machine intelligence like self-driving cars.
Good stuff. All right, Flo, thank you very much. That was Flo Villemot with the roundup of the French papers.